Good day, everyone. I'm René Schlatter, alongside Jeff Crawford in our beautiful tank room here in St. Helena at Merryvale Vineyards. Today we're going to taste three wines, the St. Helena Cab, three different vintages, 13, 14, and 16. So we'll jump right in and taste those with Jeff and make a few comments about how those wines are tasting right now. So take it away, Jeff.
Yeah, so I think one of the things to mention about, to highlight about these wines is that they are off of the profile estate. We've got some continuity between the three vintages as far as the base blocks that all of these wines come from, but definitely much different stylistically, side by side. The different vintages are showing through.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we obviously make the profile from our profile estate, and this is the other wine that we make from this beautiful estate vineyard for those of you that have been there. Stylistically different. So let's talk a little bit about the 13. It's different from profile, but also different amongst the different vintages here. So the 13 to me has always been a very big, massive wine, but it's now coming on 10 years. So the tannins, I haven't tried this in a while, and it's really coming around nicely, and it's getting into a really good spot to drink. So any other, you mentioned the same similar blocks from year to year to keep that kind of consistency with the vintage variation, but I think the 13 has, I think, what, 5% Petit Verdot maybe in this vintage, or was it more 10? 10, yeah. Sorry. So Petit Verdot is pretty dark in color and pretty tannic usually, but it blends beautifully with the cab that's in here. So.
And I think it definitely lends itself to the longevity of the wine, as you mentioned, 2013. Relatively difficult to approach in its youth when at this level of cab. So with the benefit of the decade in bottle, I think this is drinking beautifully right now.
And going to the 14, it's a really nice contrast because the 14 to me has always been quite approachable from the get-go, and still is in a beautiful spot right now. I mean, both of them are, but a little bit more even seductive in terms of maybe the tannin structure than a 13. But you know, it's like everything else. What do you like best, rock and roll or blues? It's all different. Both can be great, and in this case, I really think they're showing both of those vintages are showing beautifully.
Yeah, a little different blend composition in this one. This one has about twice as much Petit Verdot off of the estate as the 13. As you mentioned, Petit Verdot tends to be tannic and dark and can be a little grippy. And I think in a softer year like 14, it once again lends itself to that longevity.
No, for sure. And despite the fact that it has more Petit Verdot than the 13, it's still, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's a little more approachable. Let's go into the 16. I guess we're skipping a vintage here, just because, and maybe because we have very little left of any of these. But I think 15 was a smaller year, vintage in terms of the crop size, exactly. Yeah. So 16 was a little bit of a cooler. I mean, it was a fairly cool, steady vintage in terms of the weather. Right.
Long growing season in 16.
Long growing season, long hang time, as we say. Yeah. So got the maturity, the physiological maturity, maybe at a little bit lower, alcohol level as you would in maybe another year where you have where it's maybe more compressed and maybe some heat spikes.
15, I think, would be a great example to use, and that culmination of the drought years, essentially starting in 12, 13. And then culminating in 15 is what kind of led to such a small yield in 15. Then we got some good rains in the wintertime. We finally broke out of, essentially for California, out of the drought. And 16, I think, really shows that nice, long, even growing season that you're talking about.
Yep. Fantastic. I think they're all drinking beautiful. The 16 I love. It's maybe a little slightly more kind of European style, but still has a lot of fruit, balanced structure, very focused wine. So hope you enjoy this trio. Get a few trios, meaning, you know, 3, 6, 12 a case, 2 cases. Enjoy them. They're in a beautiful spot to drink right now. Special pricing, you can check it out on the website. Also, just to remind you, we still have a couple of spaces open for our river cruise in the Rhone Valley this summer. Super exciting. And don't forget to book your profile lunch on April 24th. That's a profile lunch and tasting and lunch. So cheers, enjoy.
Cheers.